just when you thought Donald Trump was tired of grifting and stealing money from the American people, we've got not only the scheduled delivery of the $400 million Qatari plane, that's really just a bribe of Donald Trump, let's be frank, based on new reporting and on the new agreement that has come to light about what the language is in there. It's a bribe. And it's not, you're never going to see it. He's going to use it for a year. We're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars making it into Air Force One. Then the Boeing $3 billion Air Force Ones official are going to be delivered. And then Donald Trump's going to say, well, we don't need 4 Air Force Ones. I'm going to take one and take it to the Trump Presidential Library. He's literally going to fly away with his bribe. And I cover it all. And his new golf grift in Scotland, which backfired spectacularly in Donald Trump's face. It was like one of those exploding cigars when I was a kid, only on the intersection. Take a listen. All right. So Donald Trump accepts a bribe, a grift from Qatar, the Qataris. $400 million plane we don't need. And Donald Trump knows we don't need it because he authorized Boeing to build us a couple of planes in his first term that we're still waiting for. It's over budget, but we've already spent $3 billion of taxpayer dollars. Shouldn't we just wait for those to be delivered? Shouldn't we? And Donald Trump doesn't want to wait because he's not really waiting on on an Air Force One. He's waiting on something he can take with him when he leaves office. So we are buying him his birthday present, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And it's not free. Oh, it's free. It's free. It's not free. Because to turn that 10 or 15-year-old plane into a working Air Force One for a president, bomb-proof, communications, electrical, making sure there's no listening devices inside of it. You don't think the Qataris could put listening devices inside of a plane? Come on. The Israelis bugged us for years. and so we had a whole embassy we had to tear down because it was bugged by our allies. Okay? All right. So they got to do all that. It's hundreds of millions of dollars and at least 1 to 2 years away from being done. And if you hear 100 million, it's 500 million. And if you hear a year, it's 2 years. So now we're 2.5 years into his administration. A year and a half, we're after the midterms. We're a year and a half until he leaves. And now he's got an Air Force One. At the same time, we get 2 others delivered by Boeing because he doesn't care about those because he wants to fly away with this one to his quote unquote presidential library. So there's 2 things that just came out new. One, we get information about the memorandum of understanding between the Qataris and U.S. Air Force signed by Pete Hegseth and the language that was included and excluded. And we find out that the Qataris wanted a provision that it was going to stay with America, and Trump struck it out. Does that tell you everything you need to know? Sure, there's a paragraph where the 2 parties to the transaction say nothing here should be construed as a foreign corrupt practice or a bribe. I hadn't thought about that. Now I see it exactly as being a foreign corrupt practice or a bribe. Remember that Donald Trump effectively shuttered the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. He allows bribery as a business model throughout the world. And he got rid of the Department of Justice Division that deals with foreign corrupt practices. So of course he'd take a plane. When he left the White House the first time, he left with millions of dollars of gifts he didn't register because they were his, mine. Remember, along with the Mar-a-Lago file, same thing. So he's got that, and that's being delivered soon. And a Freedom of Information Act case has been filed against the State Department, the Department of Defense, to get a copy of the agreement. Where's the agreement? Why is it secret? Why is it hidden? When Hegseth was grilled by Jack Reed, a senator, several months ago, their strategy is not to prepare anybody for this kind of testimony. So he doesn't know. It's implausible deniability, I call it. How much is it going to cost? I don't really know. When is it going to be delivered? Well, it's a state secret. Is there a contract about it? Well, if there was, I couldn't tell you. This was his interview, his interrogation, and his answers to it. We can't trust. This is not suffice it to say, it's not a transparent presidency about anything. And so there's a new lawsuit that's been filed against it over the memo that I'm describing right now is what that headline is referring to. And then if you thought that grift in plain sight bribery scandal was one thing. And I've already told you about how he used the office of the presidency to sell hundreds of millions of dollars of his meme cryptocurrency at a Virginia dinner. I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars, like approaching $500 million with the presidential seal on his lectern while he was welcoming people. Now he spends at least $10 to $20 million of taxpayer dollars to go to his golf course at Turnberry in Scotland, where they hate him. Did I mention they hate him? Where they hate him, and spent a considerable amount of time when they weren't turning their back on him, asking him about the Epstein scandal. So he thought, oh, this is a great idea. I'll go to Scotland. I won't have to be asked any questions about Epstein. Nope, that's not going to happen. So he goes there to open up a new golf course where a PGA Tour event is being held. It's named after his mother. Which makes sense, right? He buried his ex-wife at one golf course, names another one after his mother. Maybe she's buried there. I don't know. And so he's there at that, which should be totally not on the taxpayer dime. He put in a couple of meetings to go ramble for 90 minutes with Starmer from the UK and his wife, who looked very not happy to be there and very hard, where he started talking about, including also in front of the European Union president, windmills, and you should do something about your immigration problem in the UK. And he can't run one country. Why he thinks he could run 27 or 150 other countries, Harvard University, all public education and hospitals, and he can't even run his own. He can't run a bath. He can't run the government. Just like butt out of other people's sovereign decisions about their windmills and their immigration policy. But I digress. So he shoved that in. But on the official White House schedule, literally was Donald Trump playing golf at his own golf course for the Trump organization. And the only comment he really made from the golf course was, best course I've ever played. Best course I've ever played. Now, we already had reporting on the Midas Touch Network that he literally got, listen to this. You want to hear what his score was? 18. He shot an 18 on an 18-hole golf course. Some people might be thinking, that sounds like he got a hole-in-one on every hole, which is impossible. He did, because we paid money for Secret Service or wherever they were to every time he hit a ball, they pushed it or moved it and dropped it in the hole. And then he moved on to the next hole. So we paid for him to card an 18. I think it was a 19, because there was one where he actually got a hole in one, and then it was a hole. Anyway, so that's going on. And just to put a fine line under it, by the time this administration is over, he will have blown through $400 million of taxpayer dollars playing golf. $400 million, while he cuts trillions from Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, student loans, disability, and the rest. Remember that. Scorecard, body of work, report card for the Republicans at the midterms and beyond. Because you've seen what they do when they got complete power. As Lord Acton once said, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that's all we've been watching for the last, it's hard to believe, 6 months. Sounds like I'm talking about an administration 3 years in. This is 6 months. Welcome back. I sit at that intersection of law and politics, and the brothers finally gave me my own show on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. I'm unhinged, I'm unfiltered, I'm unplugged. Well, I'm plugged. And I do it on Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern time on the Midas Touch Network. And then you can get a free version of it without ads anyway on the Substack for Legal AF. Subscribe for free. Legal AF YouTube. Subscribe for free. You see the pattern here? No outside investors, no paywall, no corporate parents. That's it. And then you go over to where the intersection is on audio and help us there. We need more downloads there to continue to rise up the charts. And you can do that with comments, 5-star reviews, and the rest. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touches Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.